Hello, everybody. I'm here again, back at the apartment. Whoop, whoop. Man, I look like shit today. Today, I'm going to talk about a few things. You may be interested, you may not be interested. YouTube's always been my outlet. I don't think that's really hidden from anybody. But if it's a surprise to you, welcome. Don't worry, we'll get back to the usual shenanigans. Terraria video will be coming out. I'll do a welcome back stream once I get fully moved into the, or not moved, but once I get fully integrated back into my apartment. Look at that little fucker. Anyway, so I haven't been at my apartment in quite a while now. Over the last month or so, I've been living with, like I mentioned in my New York video, my friends Brandon and Neo. So, but I am now slowly integrating back into this environment, which is a little difficult mentally, but, you know, better to face things than to keep running from them. So, yeah. I'm planning on doing like a little welcome back stream, you know, welcome back to the how things were usually going beforehand. I know it's been a couple years since I've had anything close to an upload schedule, but hopefully we'll be getting back into that. So, yeah. With that being said, you know, I want to talk about just a few things. Maybe some people will gather some information from it. Maybe they won't. Things that you could use in your own life, of course. Whether or not you do, though, is not up to me. That's entirely your option. But as I noted in my video about suicide, I recorded that a day or two after I got out of the hospital. It's been a pretty shitty year. And part of that, or I guess most of it, is my fault because of decisions that I have made. But it's been a very hard and stressful time, being that, you know, with the car being totaled and me losing my job and my girlfriend all within the same sort of time frame. But we're getting closer and closer to moving on. As all of you know now, I got a new car, so that's good. Closing in on a job next week. Hopefully when I'll be starting. My agency has been very good to me, so we'll be getting closer and closer to that. And then locking down insurance and getting back to therapy and psychiatry will be very, very beneficial. So all of that's good news. So I have that to be grateful for. We have tons of good things happening. I have a wonderful support system that has been helping me through a lot of things. So things now compared to a month ago are definitely shaping up for the better. With that said, through all these experiences, I want to tell you guys a little bit about what I've been going through and just little words of advice. They may mean something to you. They may not. Take it as you will, whatever. It's not my choice what you do with this video. You can do whatever you want. But obviously a lot of people have noticed in 2024 the scarcity of uploads that especially started towards the beginning of this year and towards the end of last year as well. You know, that's due to a lot of different factors. Mainly a lot of mental issues, a lot of psychological issues that were not being treated or handled properly by myself. So there's definitely a lot of blame to be thrown on myself when it comes to that, and when it comes to the events that have transpired over the last year that have led me to sort of just isolate and not really want to do anything. I had a girlfriend last year, as many of you know, a girlfriend that I left, made some regrettable decisions in that regard. He's trying to knock down my light. Don't do that. I need that. Anyway, that whole event transpired, and you know, I genuinely believe that there were faults on both sides, of course, but you know, kind of a majority of it falls on me, and I led a lot of the dramatic situations that definitely could have been avoided due to my own actions. Now, I know most of you guys are probably like in college right now, right? Most of you guys are you're growing up and you guys are moving on, and that's great. But if I had to give a word of advice when it comes to being in relationships and things like that, is to not give it such an importance in your life that it means nothing without it. What do I mean by that? What I mainly mean is that when I left my girlfriend, I immediately pursued another relationship less than a day later, which I wouldn't recommend to anybody else. And then when that didn't unfold the way I liked it, I spent some time alone, and then pursued another relationship, the most recent one, which just ended. I gave that relationship such an importance to the point where if it had ended, I was just going to take my own life, to put it bluntly. And there's a big problem with that line of thinking. First of all, it's okay to feel like you're about to give up and there's no hope. A lot of people who come to the point of being that suicidal get to a point where they feel like they can't hope for anything. There's no light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. And hope is the biggest ingredient to keeping your life going. No matter what you're doing or what you pursue in your life, there's always something to keep hoping for. Okay? It's extremely important not to put how happy you are and your worth based off of another person, or to put all that happiness within that other person. It's extremely dangerous to yourself and to the other person as well, and I would never recommend that. It just creates a lot of stress, a lot of drama. It's a terrible decision. And it's sort of cliche, but you gotta love yourself before you can love somebody else. And if you can't find that happiness within yourself, or to find those sort of validations within yourself without needing another person, it's probably a bad idea to get into a relationship, because then a lot of that responsibility is going to go on to that person, whether they know it or not. And when they're not around, you're going to kind of feel lost, hopeless. You're going to feel like you got nothing to do if you make that person literally everything that encapsulates your life. So just be happy with yourself. If you're in college or if you're in high school, whatever the case may be, don't worry too much about pursuing or finding a relationship. Love will find you when you least expect it. And you may not even be fully ready for that type of commitment or for that type of relationship yet, because a lot of people really aren't. You might think that you are, but you really don't know. But going out and chasing it and looking for it is only going to lead to more trouble, and is only going to lead to more heartbreak, and that hole or whatever it is that you're trying to fill isn't going to be filled. You have to find that with yourself and what you do. It could be any number of things. It could just be going to work and cracking a few jokes to try to make people smile. Maybe that's where your happiness comes from, out of making other people happy. Or not making other people happy per se, but socialization, out of enjoyment of being in a social environment. Even if you're introverted, like I am, you probably still do gain some gratification, if you say a joke, or if you engage in a conversation and people enjoy that presence. There are truly a lot of people in your life that actually enjoy you being around, that you don't know about. That they don't say it to you directly, but it's there, As you might admire somebody from afar, somebody else more than likely is probably doing that to you. So you're always going to have somebody out there who appreciates you. But in terms of finding happiness within yourself without giving it up to another individual, which is an impossible task, they'll never be able to fill up that happiness for you, is also finding hobbies and other relationships per se. Relationships as in friendships and personal relationships with family, things like that. But even if you just like going after work and sitting around the house playing video games, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. You know, you went out for work, you did your job, you got money, it's keeping a roof over your head, or if you're, you know, living with your relatives, it's still giving you freedom to buy food and, you know, to go out and spend your money however you want. You know, that's your downtime. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But all of this to say is that you got to find something to keep you going. You have to find something that is worth it enough to keep living for, without that being somebody you've put up on a pedestal or even somebody you admire. You know, can't be the end all be all. That's a mistake I've made this year over and over and over again. I've made it quite a few times and almost slipped back as soon as I got out of the hospital into making the same mistake again. But it's just not worth it. It's really not. And even if you've been broken up with and you find yourself missing that person or wanting to go back to the way things were, it ultimately won't change anything. And what I mean by that is, you know, I made the decision to go to college next year. I've made the decision to make a lot of changes in my life since last month. And if things were to just go back to the way they were, you know, it never even crossed my mind to go to college or to pursue an education and do something that I actually like doing that isn't, you know, working the same dead-end job for years on end and coming back to this place, which doesn't feel like a home. I made the choice after what happened to me last month to get the opportunity to do that. If things were to go back to the way they were, all you would be doing is just resorting back to the same situation with little to no change. So realize that it's just better to keep pushing forward. And that may mean something to you. It may not. But there are going to be times where no matter how much you take these words or no matter how much you help yourself, they're still going to slip back a few times. And you're going to still come through hardships. You know, my car got totaled a couple weeks ago, which was very hard to deal with. And I started drinking and self-loathing, and I started regretting a lot of decisions. You know, I always like to think of it as, you know, regret is one thing that will keep you in the same cycle of misery. You know, misery loves company, and the more you give it that, the more easy it will be to slip back into that. Because especially if you're someone who's been depressed all your life and you know you've been depressed all your life, it feels like a safe place to just be sad and to kind of indulge in that sadness, which is something I fell to many, many times. Breaking out of that could be easy, you know, as easy as changing a routine. It could be easy as going out for a walk every morning or going to the gym like 3 times a week or something. You know, you don't got to be there every goddamn day, but you go there a few times a week. It's something that kind of throws the routine, you know, especially if you're somebody that works all day and you live for the weekend or something. You throw in a couple of gym visits in there, you know, you get a little something different in your routine to spice it up. which will lead you down, then to make a few more changes. You know, it's different with every person. It's specific to one and every person, and you know, to every other person. So, what that may be for you may be different for me and everybody else. But I'm rambling now. But all of this to say is that I've taken this regret and acknowledged the responsibility that I hold, you know, over the things that have happened, but also realizing that there's no way to go back and change everything. And constant regret and misery is going to bring you back to that place, and you don't want to stay in that place. And like I said, you're still going to be pulled back into it to points of, you know, wanting to commit suicide again and wanting to be depressed. But you have resources. You always have resources. And I encourage anybody who is in college right now. I know college, I'm going to be there next year, so I'll experience this myself, but I know that college at points can be very stressful, very hard. And people tend to be more, to you know, gain some depressive attitudes while they're there. All of that stress and anxiety can generate a lot of depression and a lot of episodes that will kind of make you slip back. But reach out to any counselor, reach out to a parent, teacher, professor. They may care more than you think. Because once you get to that point and you think that nobody cares, the odds are good that more people care than you might think. And if you're not doing it for yourself, then at least do it for them. And if you're not doing it for them, then at least do it for yourself. Because you deserve that. You know, being in the hospital for those few days kind of made me realize that I have a lot more to live for than I had previously thought. With the visits from family and friends, Brandon and Neo were there almost every night. My father, brother, and sister were there. You know, you kind of realize how much of a strong support network you really do have. You know? And that really is something to be grateful for. If nothing else, then that is something to be grateful for. And that is something I am definitely grateful for. And I also want to thank everybody, each one of you, you know who you are, for the outpour of support on that video I made after I got out of the hospital. You have no idea how much it means to me. And I hope to see some of you guys next weekend when I do the Welcome Back live stream on here. Some point during the week before next weekend, there will be a Terraria video out on the channel. So look forward to that. I just moved in a bunch of my stuff here. I don't have all of it over here yet, but I am in the process of slowly integrating myself back into the apartment. New job coming up too. So, but don't worry, you're still going to see that Terraria video. And you know, because a big part of the reason, and I'll go back to what I was saying before, the reason why I didn't upload as much during this past year is because I was extremely sad. I thought that by giving up everything my entire life and doing anything for at all without boundary for my partner was a good thing, but it wasn't. And a lot of those gaps in between those uploads from about 3 or 4 months ago were mostly just spent in bed. There would be days where I would get into my head about something. There would be days where I would be affected by whatever they were going through. And then they would refuse to speak for long periods of time. And it would hurt a lot. And because of that, I just decided, well, then I can't talk to them. I can't do anything. I might as well just sit here all day and do nothing. Without that person without that person's validation, approval, or acknowledgement of my existence, I felt like nothing. And to all of you, that is something that's not right and you should never do to yourself. And part of the reason I'm staying single now, for as long as I can, or for as long as I feel I need to, which is going to be at least up until I get to college. Whatever I do when I get to college is whatever. But, I think in between period, I think I'm going to be alone with myself and do the best I can to try and love who I am and be comfortable with being alone. Loneliness and being alone are two different things. Being alone doesn't always have to be a negative. And in a lot of ways, you can find peace and happiness within yourself. And it is possible. And some of you may not be feeling like it is possible, but I can guarantee you that it is. From the point I was in last month when I made that video to the point I am at now, is a very big difference, and I'm willing to be proud of myself for that. And you all should be proud of yourself too. If you've gone through something similar to that, or maybe something even a little less intensive, which doesn't discredit it at all, I think you should be proud no matter what. Even some of you, by making it to college, is such a huge accomplishment. You may not think it's a big deal, but there are people who are looking at you right now and very, very proud of you. And some of you guys I met in 2019 when you were still in high school, and on stream, you guys would come into the chat. We'd shoot the shit, play some Terraria modded, and get our houses griefed by some asshole. And look at where you are now. You may not think it's all that much because of, how quickly time passes, but it's extremely impressive. And I want all of you to recognize that in yourselves, as I do in myself, for everything that's gotten better over this last month. And in terms of going through any sort of a breakup or a major change or losing your job or things like that, I went through all of them at the same time, basically. So, except for my total loss on my car, that was a couple weeks ago. But losing my job and my girlfriend in the same week was all really close together. I lost my job as soon as I got out of the hospital. So it was within the same 7-day time period. But either way, in terms of that, it's always that first or second day, those first couple days, even the first week after this happened, that are the hardest. More so the first 24 to 48 hour period is the hardest. You can push through it, and I know that you can. And especially if you're somebody who has codependency problems like I do, or you don't value yourself. Therefore, that person leaves and you mean nothing now, especially in that situation. It's going to be incredibly, incredibly difficult. And I can feel that pain. And I know that's going to be probably the hardest emotional and mental challenge you're going to be put through. But it does get better over time, which is something to look forward to, and that's your hope. That is your hope. Because I can tell you, when I was in that situation and when I was being booked into the behavioral health center, I had no hope. My therapist asked me, do I want to end my own life? Do I have a plan? And I told him I had already enacted the plan the previous night, and I was on the final step to doing it. Until one of my friends called me and convinced me otherwise. But there's always something. Hope can be anything. It could be your future aspirations. It could be you know, a loved one that really cares about you. Or it could be that one bit of good news that you get while you're at rock bottom during your first few weeks. One little bit of good news could be your hope. And I know a lot of people have had friends or probably currently have friends that are considering or have had problems in the past with suicide. And like I had mentioned while I was in the bathtub the night before I went to the hospital, I got a call from a friend, and I don't know if this particular individual has any history and mental health background, or he should honestly become a therapist or something, because the way he spoke and the order in which he spoke the words is like second to none. It was perfect, and it was just what I needed to hear. The first thing he asked me was what's going on. And I told him and broke down almost immediately while I was inside of the tub, and then he asked me to talk to him about my book and some of the writing that I've been doing, which slowly broke me out of that phase. One of the most important things you can do is listen. When somebody is in that state of mind, in that position, listening to them is all they want from somebody. Somebody that they know cares and will listen to anything they have to say. Especially when you get to the point where you're so low on hope that you don't think your life matters anymore. You don't think anybody else cares about you anymore. When somebody starts listening to you and asking you open-ended questions and can relate to you on an interpersonal level, that saves lives right there, and it's more important than you think it is. So that would be my advice to you guys if you have any friends who are struggling like that, or eventually get to the point where they decide they can't handle any more pain. Because in essence, they just want the pain to be over. They don't really want to die. You know, I remember this quote, and I can't remember where it's from, but it said that people who are about to commit or want to commit suicide are not really trying to kill themselves. They're trying to kill something that's inside of them, that they want to die. Which is exactly right. And after some reflection and introspection based off of the last year and all the decisions that I've made, I realized that there was something kind of ugly inside of me that I am now addressing and am willing to address. But all of you who have come to this channel, and all of you who found me off of my Twitch, and all of you that came from over there and were there from the very beginning, and who showed their outpour of support on the video I made about a month ago, I appreciate you, and I thank you for everything. And even those who reached out to me outside of the comment section, I appreciate it, and thank you very much. You have no idea how much it means to me, and reinforces the fact that I should be here and that my life has meaning, and that there's always hope. However way you want to interpret hope, however, whatever you want to see as the light at the end of the tunnel, it's always there. And you have a right to see it, and you should see it. And whoever's struggling out there, I genuinely believe that it will get better, and that you deserve everything that you've ever wanted. And, you know, you should take care of yourself before you take care of anybody else. Um, if you feel like you want to get into a relationship because you think it'll fix something inside of you, then don't do it. That is the last thing I would want anybody to do. The last thing I would want anyone to do at all is to put somebody else above themselves in order to fix their happiness and their struggles. Because not only will it not fix anything, it'll just make the problems even worse. So if I had anything worth saying at all during this ramble, I would say that be okay with yourself, please. And even if you're, sitting in your room alone for like the 4th or 5th day in a row, or for like the 3rd or 4th week in a row, and you're starting to get kind of sick of it, ask some of your buddies to hang out. Or if you don't have buddies, then go see your family. Or even if not any of those, you can just go to a public place. What I like to do is I like to go to the park or a restaurant or something like that, something where there's people around. Especially if you're somebody who struggled with being alone, and maybe it also helps a little bit with your coping with your codependency issues and things like that. But being in a public environment where you're not like putting anybody up or anything on a pedestal, or you're not giving away your happiness to somebody else, but just being within the presence of other people, it helps. It really does. Going to a park or a restaurant, or if you're old enough, going to a bar or pub, whatever it may be, going out with your buds, you could be doing nothing. You could be fucking around and going to like Walmart or something, or just driving, for like an hour, or just taking a day trip out somewhere, going to see your family and having dinner with them, or watching a movie or something, if you're really that, gotten to that point where you're like, because humans are very social, obviously being comfortable with yourself, but not being lonely 24/7, it would be a good word of advice. Go out there and build some sort of social communication with other people. It's very important. But anyway, I digress. But the considerable gaps in my uploads have been due to me putting other people above myself. Even in my relationship prior, I did the same thing. I didn't want to upload videos because I felt like my whole life was already just work, going home, and giving whatever other people need from me. And I'm not 100% fixed yet by any stretch of the imagination. And nor will you be fixed overnight by choosing to acknowledge these things and making healthy improvements. But getting better with that, though, and looking at that and taking the time to fix it by yourself is extremely important. And I have been taking the time to do that as well. But part of that is just doing what I love again, which is uploading and talking to you guys and stuff like that. So I'm going to try to do that a little bit more. And even if I feel lonely, I'm not always totally alone because I got all these cats here now. If you see me looking off to the sides, that's usually because one of my cats is doing something. My cat, George, is sitting on top of my PC and looking at my wall for some reason. I'm going to give him some chin scratchies. He's a little dickhead, but I love him. But anyway, that's all I have to say. Just kind of want to make this, just to talk, just to say shit and give you guys some pointers, because I know a lot of you are at the age where you're in college and a lot of this stuff is going to be beneficial to you, potentially. You can do what you like. It also gives you guys a little bit of insight a little bit of insight as to absence and things like that. But just know, everybody, that things will get better, and you have resources to reach out to if you really do need help. And a lot of you guys know me personally. You can always DM me, and you know, if I'm streaming or you catch a video of mine, you could always leave a comment. And you know, I'm sure when I do stream next weekend, I'll be talking about this a little bit more. So, yeah. But thank you, everybody, for everything. I really appreciate it. It's been helping me a lot, and you know, you guys ever want something, you know, you guys always have people to talk to, and once I get fully settled in here, you guys will have Capo back, and you know, I'll be around in the Discord and whatnot. We could play some fucking Minecraft or some shit. Oh no, it's the 2024 Minecraft YouTuber trend. I'm cooked, bro. Trying to strike a chord, and it's probably A minor. Oh, not the Minecraft YouTuber face. Fuck. We lost him, y'all. Anyway, with that very poorly timed joke, I will leave you off to it and upload this. So all of you have a blessed day. Have a great day. And I hope this weekend goes well for you. And I will catch y'all on the flip. All right. Love your faces. Peace out.